We often see the world's richest people through headlines, billion-dollar deals, luxury lifestyles, massive acquisitions, but what we rarely see is how they truly compete. Behind the public eye, the ultra-wealthy operate in a secretive, almost invisible game. It's not about flashy publicity or viral social media posts. It's about strategy, leverage, and influence so subtle that most people never notice the rules being bent in real time. The rich compete in ways that are sophisticated, quiet, and sometimes ruthless. They don't need to advertise their moves because the systems around them, finance, law, media, and politics, already serve as their stage. To understand how the wealthy operate, you have to look beyond their money, beyond their headlines, and into the networks, strategies, and influence that remain hidden. 1. Networks are the invisible battlefield. One of the most powerful tools the wealthy use is their network. While most of us think of networking as attending events or sending LinkedIn messages, billionaires treat connections as a strategic battlefield. Deals, opportunities, and insider knowledge often flow exclusively through private networks. Being in the right room is not just advantageous, it's essential. Consider investment circles. Many billionaires only allow themselves to be approached by select hedge funds, private equity firms, or trusted intermediaries. Decisions about multi-billion-dollar acquisitions are often made over private dinners, yacht trips, or closed-door meetings. The public never sees the deals forming because they happen entirely off the radar of traditional media. This hidden network creates an ecosystem where information is power, and scarcity of access becomes a competitive advantage. 2. Tax strategies and legal loopholes are competitive tools. While most people pay taxes transparently, the ultra-wealthy compete through legal structures that shield their wealth, while simultaneously investing it. Trusts, offshore accounts, and shell companies are not just tools for avoiding taxes, they're instruments for strategic competition. By placing assets into trusts, billionaires can protect themselves from hostile takeovers, secure their family's financial future, and control voting rights in corporations. Offshore companies allow them to invest internationally without attracting regulatory attention. These strategies aren't illegal, they're sophisticated methods of staying ahead while maintaining operational secrecy. The public might see a headline about a billionaire paying minimal taxes, but what they don't see is the intricate web of financial engineering that gives them a decisive advantage over competitors. 3. Private market deals are invisible to most people. Stock markets are public, but the majority of big moves made by billionaires happen outside them. Private equity, venture capital, and early-stage investments are all conducted away from the public eye. These deals allow the wealthy to acquire stakes in companies, set terms, and even influence operations before the general public knows the company exists. Take venture capital as an example. Many billionaires invest in startups during seed rounds, long before these companies become household names. The valuations are confidential, the terms are negotiated behind closed doors, and sometimes deals happen exclusively through trusted introductions. By the time a company goes public or becomes media-worthy, the initial competitive advantage has already been secured. The public only sees the result, not the strategic maneuvering that happened years prior. 4. Influence in politics and policy shapes competition. One of the less visible ways the rich compete is through political influence. Lobbying, campaign contributions, and private advisory roles give billionaires the ability to shape regulations and policies that affect entire industries. While the average person might see a politician passing a new law, few understand that wealthy backers often help craft those rules in ways that benefit them specifically. For example, tax reforms, trade policies, and industry regulations often go through processes heavily influenced by private stakeholders. Billionaires are able to anticipate these changes and position themselves ahead of competitors, often without any public announcement. This kind of influence transforms markets before they even open, creating invisible advantages that most people never realize exist. 5. Strategic timing and insider knowledge. Timing is everything for the wealthy. Billionaires use access to insider knowledge, economic forecasts, and global market intelligence to make moves the public cannot see. When central banks announce interest rate changes, when trade tensions flare, or when technological breakthroughs emerge, the ultra-wealthy often have early signals through private analysts, consultants, or closed advisory groups. This allows them to invest, divest, or restructure portfolios ahead of competitors. For most people, the market moves look unpredictable. For the ultra-rich, they are carefully calculated maneuvers based on information that never makes it to mainstream news. 6. Legal battles as competitive weapons. While litigation is public in some cases, many high-stakes legal maneuvers remain invisible to outsiders. Billionaires use lawsuits strategically, not only to protect their assets, but also to create competitive barriers. Intellectual property lawsuits, patent disputes, and contract enforcement actions can suppress competition without ever being widely reported. In some cases, litigation is used as a deterrent, signaling to competitors that entering a market could be costly. The public may never know about these quiet battles, yet they shape which companies thrive, which innovations reach the market, and who controls access to key industries. 7. Media ownership and narrative control. Some billionaires invest in media not only as a business venture, but as a strategic competitive tool. Owning media outlets allows them to shape public perception, influence opinion, and even affect the decisions of other business leaders. Narrative control can protect their ventures, highlight their successes, and quietly discredit competitors, all while appearing neutral or mainstream to the public. For instance, controlling the narrative around new technologies, industries, or public policy initiatives allows billionaires to shape the market psychology that influences investor behavior and consumer choices. In essence, they compete not just in products and services, but in ideas and perception itself. 8. Strategic alliances and quiet acquisitions. Billionaires often form alliances or acquire companies in secret before anyone knows they exist. Unlike public mergers or stock purchases, these transactions are often conducted quietly to avoid alerting competitors or the public. Strategic acquisitions allow wealthy individuals to expand influence into new markets, secure critical intellectual property, or corner a supply chain. These deals are often kept under wraps until the market has already shifted in their favor. By the time the public notices, the competitive advantage is locked in, and rivals are left reacting rather than leading. 9. Global investments and diversification. The wealthy rarely compete within one market alone. They spread influence across industries, countries, and continents. By diversifying globally, they mitigate risks and gain advantages invisible to the public. For example, an investor may simultaneously hold stakes in energy, technology, media, and finance across different continents. While one market experiences disruption, their other holdings maintain stability. This multi-layered strategy allows them to compete silently, leverage global opportunities, and absorb shocks that would overwhelm smaller players. 10. Psychological warfare and reputation management. Finally, some of the competition happens in the minds of others. Billionaires often leverage reputation, rumors, and strategic announcements to unsettle competitors. Leaks, subtle media campaigns, and public statements can influence markets, negotiation positions, and corporate behavior without direct confrontation. Psychological strategies are particularly powerful because they create invisible barriers. A competitor may hesitate, delay, or make costly errors simply because the ultra-rich have positioned themselves strategically in the public imagination, even if nothing is directly disclosed. Invisible competition is the true game of the ultra-rich. The rich compete in ways the public rarely sees. They operate in private networks, manipulate timing, structure investments, influence policy, and control narratives. While everyday people notice the outcomes, companies growing, markets shifting, products dominating, they rarely understand the invisible strategies that created those results. This kind of competition is sophisticated, multi-layered, and nearly impossible to observe without being part of the inner circle. Unlike typical business rivalry, it doesn't rely on advertising, press conferences, or public statements. Instead, it relies on strategy, secrecy, and subtle influence that shapes entire industries and global markets. The ultra-wealthy have learned that the quiet game often produces the most lasting victories. Deals happen before anyone notices. Influence spreads before anyone understands. Markets shift long before headlines report. And by the time the public sees the results, the competitive advantage is already secured. In a world where wealth equals influence, the richest operate in shadows, competing in ways that are hidden yet decisive. They don't need the spotlight to win. Instead, they manipulate systems, networks, and knowledge in ways that remain invisible to the masses, quietly consolidating power while the world watches from the outside. Ultimately, the lesson is clear. In the arena of the ultra-wealthy, the most important battles are not fought in public. They are fought behind closed doors, on invisible playing fields, with tools and strategies few outside the inner circle can ever fully see. The public may see the surface, the acquisitions, the headlines, the billionaire lifestyles, but the real competition is hidden. It is subtle, strategic, and profoundly powerful. And for the ultra-rich, that invisible game is where the true winners are decided. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.